Hello and welcome back to Screen Buddha. Okay, so in our previous lecture, we learned about what string in Java is and how you can actually print out this string variable from your Java program, right? So in this lecture, we're actually going to learn about different data types. So Java have basically 8 primitive data types. So what is the data types then? First is byte. So byte data type is an 8-bit assigned to complement integer. It has a minimum value of -128 and maximum value of 127. That is kind of like the book definition of what byte is, right? So in the simplest form, byte is basically the smallest data type of Java. So let's say, for instance, if you wanted to store your value that is very, very small, then you can use actually byte, right? Because it only has -128 and maximum value of 127. So the byte is very useful for saving memory. Say you have a very gigantic program and you have a lot of data types, okay? And if you know that your data type is going to be very, very small, then you can actually use byte. So the next one is short, right? The short data type is 16-bit signed to complement integer. It has a minimum value of -32,768 and maximum value of 32,767. Again, it's a little bigger than byte, but also it's very small, and you can also save a lot of memory using the short data type. And the very commonly used one data type is int. It's a 2-bit signed to complement integer, which has a minimum value of 2 to the power 31 and maximum value of 2 to the 31 -1. So that means it can store the number like 2 to the 31. That's a lot of numbers, right? A lot of integers. That's why you often see int variables in Java. Data type is normally used in Java to support arithmetic operations for integers. So for instance, if your number does not have a decimal value, then you can use integer. Since this int has like 2 to the power 31, it should be enough for a lot of the integer numbers that you're going to use in real time. The other one here is long. So the long data type is 64-bit to complement integer. The signed long has a maximum value of -2 to the 63 and the maximum value to the 63 -1. So you can use long data type if your integer data type is going to be longer or bigger than integer data type. So use this data type when you need a range of values wider than those provided by int. The next one is float. The float data type is a single precision 32-bit floating integers. As with the recommendation for byte and short, use a float instead of double, okay, which you're going to learn shortly, if you need to save memory in large areas of floating point numbers. So if you have like a floating number, right? So what is floating number then, right? So if your number has like decimals and it's also a float number, and you can use float. So the other one here, the commonly used one as well, is double. So the double data type is double precision 64-bit floating point. As you can see here, it has a single precision and this is a double precision. So for decimal values, this data type is generally a default choice. So most commonly, people use double instead of float. If you're actually, doing some like currencies, right, account balances, then you can actually see a lot of people using double instead of float. So the other one here, and also probably the important one, is also Boolean. And what is Boolean then? So Boolean is actually a data type that basically gives you either true or false. Two possible values, true and false, right? So like for instance, I can give you an example saying, is today raining? Right? It's raining today. So you can say yes or no. So in that case, that is a Boolean data type. You're using a Boolean condition here. And the next one here is char. Okay, the char data type is a single 16-bit Unicode character. It has a minimum value of 0 and a maximum value of that. That's a Unicode character. Char should always be in single code. If you wanted to actually store kind of like a one character, and you can usually use char. Okay, and they're normally in single code. Right? String are normally in double code. The char, however, are always going to be in single code. So now, let's give an example here. So I've got this example here in a class called datatype. And I've got this byte, as you can see here. If I wanted to actually create a byte variable, I gotta put byte first. You're actually initializing this variable saying byte. So you're actually typecasting it in Java world. So here, this byte variable b1 is actually value 21. And the short number is 241. Integer is I1 225. Long is long number 1313. Double balance equal 12424. Floating number is 241.3f. So every time you actually wanted to create a floating variable, you actually have to put f at the end. The Boolean is bool1, and it's true. Okay, and this Boolean is either going to be true or false. And I've got this another char data type here. This is a char1, and I've got this in single code, and I have one character called a. So if I print out byte number is this, short number is this, integer number is this. If I do that, I'm actually going to print byte number is 21, short number is, and all that stuff. So you're actually printing out all these variables here. So I'm actually trying to show you here how you can actually create different data types here in Java. So let's go back to our IntelliJ here. So here I'm actually going to create a new class and I'm going to say data types, click OK. So now I've got this data types here, and I'm actually going to create a static void main method again. All right, so here I'm actually going to create different variables. So I'm going to say byte equal b1 equals 21. So the other one was short, 25, and I'm actually going to say integer. So let's say I1 equals, let's say 250, and long, let's say L1 equal 255, something like that. And the other one was double, and say the D1 equal float equal F1 equals 2F. Now boolean called B2, let's say B2 here. I'm actually going to say true, and char, I'm going to say C1 equals A. So now if I do here in the B1, right, so I created this byte variable and I said B1. Okay, so if you put this here, it's going to actually say incompatible types, required byte, found int. You see here, this byte has very small memory, right? I mean, it has the very smallest size. So if I add anything more than 2 digits, it's gonna throw an error saying that this is invalid value for a byte. Okay, let's do that here. S1, but it's still fine. See, as soon as I do this, that's after 5 digits, it's okay. So as soon as I do 6, it's gonna say required short but found int. So now I've got int here. So I'm actually gonna do, since it has 2 to the power 31, I'm actually gonna do more here. It says integer number 2 large, still large. So if you have a number that has this much value, so you're gonna use int. So long, I'm actually going to go more. So till that number, it's fine, but as soon as I do more, one more digit, it's going to say it's too large. Now, double has this decimal value. If I do this, it's still fine because it's going to print it at 00. So double can be decimal and without decimal, right? So when you have 255, your computer program actually treats it like this .00. So now floating number here. So if I do not put like that, it's going to actually say required float, but it's double. Okay, so every floating number has f at the end. So it's going to be only true and false. So if I put any number here or any string in here, it's going to say you're supposed to put a Boolean value, which is either true or false. Character one here, this data type, C1, I have A. If I put B in here, it's going to throw an error. Too many characters in character literal. And if I do, so put it in double quote, it's also going to throw an error because it's saying you're creating a string. You're having a string value in the char1 variable. So now I'm actually going to print this one out here. Print ln byte is the b1. All right, I'm actually going to print that and change that later on to save some time. And here short is s1 and long is l1, int is I1, double is D1, oops, and float is F1, Boolean value is, I'm actually going to say B2, and here I'm actually going to say char is C1. So now let's run this class here. I'm actually going to go there and run it. And you can see here, it says byte is 21, S1 is S25222, long is this value here, integer is that one, double is, as soon as I say double is, so you can see here, I do not have any decimal, but it's gonna create a decimal for you here, because double has a decimal value, and the floating is this 2.2520.2, it's not gonna print out F, because that's how you actually denote this is a floating number. And the Boolean value is true and char is A. So that is pretty much about data types. I hope you guys learned about what data types in Java is, okay? So most commonly used data type is integer, double, float, Boolean, sometimes char, byte, short and long are not commonly used, but it's also good to know what those data types are. So that's it for this lecture. Hope you guys understood what data types is and what data types each means and how you can actually create different data types in Java. I'll see you guys in our next lecture.